Okay, we'll go ahead and call the Common Council meeting to order. It is 6:00 PM on Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. Let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, you are.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Middleton.
Here.
Larga.
Here.
Romano.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Robinson.
Here.
In front of you are the minutes from our last meeting on May 14th. Were there any changes or corrections? I think I had two, and that was under the ordinance 2024-5. It should say in the third paragraph, final reading and declare an emergency. And then also under the department reports, breaks, under Terry's portion, breaks are B-R-E-A-K-S instead of B-R-A-K-E, sorry, B-R-A-K-E-S, there we go. So, different kind of breaks. Besides that, any other changes or corrections? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved with changes. Second.
Motion by Jennifer, second by Jenny. Further discussion? All those in favor show with the usual sign. Leslie, Jenny, Jennifer approve. And Tad and Dan abstains. Okay, thank you. Next up is our CF1 for our abatements. First up is, well, do you guys want to look at these in general and then go from there? So we have Kyocera 2020, Kyocera 22, and Kyocera 2015, all personal property. Anything in there you want to chat about, discuss?
I thought all the Kyocera ones looked,
They looked really good.
they look good.
Yeah.
I'd be
Okay.
in favor of just approving all those.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve Kyocera 2020, 2022, and 2015 personal property and grant an additional year of abatement?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jennifer, second by Tad. Further discussion? All those in favor show the usual sign. It is unanimous. Next up is Casey Jones. As you will remember, Casey Jones, also known as C&R Plating, they have been in front of us before multiple times. I know that I can't tell you why they're not here. I can't tell you why their numbers are what they are. I know in the past they've said they've had real issues with staffing and had some significant issues after COVID. Past that, I can't tell you any information or details. They are, though, however, I believe on their either second to last or last year, as I remember. It's a 2015, I believe. So, 2015 personal property. What is the pleasure of the council?
I mean, I don't think it's a horrible report. It's not what they estimated. So they're at what, 20 so this one's, they'd be down to what, a 10% or?
So they're, yeah, I mean, so if you look at, let's see, it'd be page 16, I think, of your packet there, where, you know, they show the numbers of current employees as estimated and what was actually there. You can see what the salaries were between those two, as well as the number of employees retained. And then additional employees added. Obviously, both the employees, well, all three categories are lower than expected. You know, again, I think the interesting thing, though, if you look below that and see the actual manufacturing equipment, you see the values of the proposed project versus the net values upon completion. They're about 40,000 off. Let me do the quick math. Or is it 4? No.
They're still trying to rebound.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So actually, it's about, maybe it's $400,000 off. If I'm doing, it's hard to count that many numbers. but in general, you know, theoretically, they're still having $1.8 million in personal property value, net value, if you will.
It does look like this was there last year,
Yeah.
based on
the number.
Page 19.
Yeah. So, what's the pleasure of the council?
I don't know, they didn't meet their targets and they're not here to talk about it, so.
Yeah, have they ever come in?
Yeah. Yeah,
They
Keith
did a couple
Keith
years ago,
Nicholson
right?
has came in and spoken
Yeah.
to you guys a couple of times, yeah. I did talk to Dale today and, you know, he said that he's not sure of why the numbers are what they are. Said I think outside of what they normally reported, but.
I mean, their salary amount is actually over with half the amount of employees, what they targeted. So it was-
It would be really interesting to actually know how they did that.
Are these, when they do these estimates, is that based on their estimate from 9 years ago?
Yeah, it's supposed to be, yes. The estimated number is supposed to be when they first turn in their abatement form, requesting the abatement, that's what they're projecting. If we buy these pieces of equipment, or if we build this building, this is what we anticipate retaining, or, you know, what we currently have, how many employees we will retain and how many employees we will grow, and then here's also the number of salaries that will be attached to those number of employees. So, yes, this was projected basically prior to them buying the equipment and, you know, going from
The
there to
other side of
here.
that is they've had 10 years to reach a goal that they haven't even come close to, and they're not here to talk about it, so I'm personally, I move that we decline it.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Jennifer, seconded by Tad to decline the final year of abatement for Casey Jones. Any further discussion?
No, you're not wanting them to come in, you're just totally declining it. Okay.
Okay, all those in favor, show by the usual sign. Okay. There's two. All those opposed? Okay, so the motion fails on vote. Do I have any other motions on the floor?
Do we still have, is there still time to ask them to come in and present to us?
Yeah. I mean, it's past their deadline when they're supposed to have it in, but
Have the documentation in, but it's not for us
Yeah.
to approve it.
we can wait and approve it the next time.
Is the next one the last one?
No, it's supposed to be in by May.
No,
What are you talking about?
I'm saying for us to give our approval or denial to the assessor, or to the auditor.
Yeah, it's supposed to be in by the 15th, but
From us?
yes, them to us.
Okay,
But we've had it later before.
okay.
Because we wanted to have people in here. It was late getting in. So you can still do it. You could still do the next one. But I don't think I left anything past your next meeting.
So I say that we give them until the next meeting. If they don't show up, then we make a final decision, but we need to give them a chance to be here at the next meeting to give an explanation before we make our final.
You say Keith hadn't talked, or Keith?
Yeah,
Um,
Dale?
Dale hadn't talked to him?
I don't believe so. I'm not 100% aware. I mean, he didn't say. Chip, do you remember him saying?
I do
anything
not
about
remember
it?
him saying
I
it.
think so. Dan asked the question of whether this is their final year or not. And it does say designated termination date of 4/25 of 25. So I don't know if that means that
So page 19 has you 10.
19 of our packet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's when we had yeah, that's a 10-year abatement.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so I get why that's, because I actually read that earlier and was like, oh, this must, oh, no, that's.
Yeah, I believe 25 is their last.
So next year is their last year officially.
And it's not that, you know, because they've had it so long, I don't think their abatement is that much of a,
It's 20%, I think.
I was gonna say, I thought that would be 20% of the.
yeah. I thought I had it, but I
And actually, if you look at that page, looks like page 14, you can see what that actual deduction is worth, which, if I'm reading that correctly, it's worth $91,000.
That's a chunk of change.
That is a chunk of change, on both sides.
Yeah.
It's a chunk of change for, for tax dollars, it's a chunk of change for them.
And I have to admit, they're in question, and they should be here to explain it if Louise and I support that
Yeah,
100%, especially if we're looking at $90,000. You would like to think somebody cared enough to,
At least many years of not meeting your goal. Fire me when you have babies.
So I'll make a motion that we give them until our next board meeting, or our next council meeting, for them to show up before we, and then we will on at that time, our next council meeting.
Okay, so I have a motion to table to the next council meeting with their appearance at that
Yes.
meeting.
Yep.
Okay,
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. Further discussion? Okay, all those in favor show by the usual sign. Leslie, Jenny, and Dan approve, and those opposed? Jennifer and Tad oppose. So we will table the abatement until the next meeting. Rosie, can you
I'll get a hold of
get a hold of them and please make sure that if they want a chance at the abatement, they need to be here. Okay, next up is Titus Precision. This is a 2022 personal property. This is on page 23 of your packet. Any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns?
This looks good.
And remember that this is only a 3-year abatement. So, I think they have,
They've definitely exceeded their goals.
yes.
how they exceeded everything.
So, I'm,
I move that we approve this.
Second.
second by Tad, or I'm sorry. Motion by Tad, second by Jennifer. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. Approving. I'm assuming grant an additional year of abatement, right?
Yes.
That was a part of that motion, I think, so, okay. Okay, next up is ordinance 2024-6. Do I have a motion to read by title only?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Leslie, second by Jennifer. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. Please read ordinance number 2024-6 by title only.
Ordinance 2024-6, and ordinance amending Chapter 115, door-to-door solicitation of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Columbia City, Indiana.
Ordinance review or Marcia? Who wants to take it?
I can take it.
Okay.
So just to sort of give, we have several ordinances on the agenda tonight. So the committee met a couple of times, or at least once, and we put together several things for presentation tonight. The first one being door-to-door solicitation to amend the registration and fees. I think we upped those and tried to not have as many different categories, and then the duration of the registration. I think some of this had to be the pause for the ability to wait to decide whether to issue the business permit or decline it too. I'm trying to remember what the old ordinance said, but anyway, that's what this one's about, so it's pretty straightforward.
Questions, thoughts, concerns, or any other comments regarding ordinance?
One of my questions is solicitation, the definition. If you're one of these kids that are running around trying to sell, pizza cards or candy or what have you, do they have to pay a $60 fee to run around the wheel?
Well, it's probably in the actual ordinance.
In the main ordinance, it actually exempts out nonprofits.
Yeah, it's all in the ordinance. This is just a simple amendment of two tiny provisions in the
Okay.
ordinance.
Yep.
I just want to make sure, when I first read that, I didn't see that, you know, it's pretty specific solicitation, or, you know, I like, there was a lot of around there, but then there's always a what if, I guess, in the rest of the ordinance. I just didn't want to take away, you know, us running around, we're soliciting votes.
Sure.
You know, and-
Yeah,
the
it's
ordinance-
specifically
The
for
ordinance
sale.
exempts a lot.
Yep.
You just have to look at the ordinance, this is just an amendment.
Yep.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're not knocking something out we don't want to knock out. I get it, I understand it,
Yep.
but I just want to make sure we're.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts, comments, concerns? Okay, do I have a motion to approve ordinance 2024-6 on first reading?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Leslie, seconded by Tad. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. We will move that to second reading next meeting. Ordinance 2024-7, do I have a motion to read by title only?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jennifer, seconded by Jenny. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. Please read ordinance number 2024-7 by title only.
Ordinance 2024-7, an ordinance restating and amending Chapter 100 of Title 9 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Columbia City, Indiana.
Okay, I'll try to do better with this. So this just had to do with who's in charge of whether animals can be brought to events. Again, it's simply an amendment of an entire ordinance. And so the committee felt that the special event organizers should take that on their own and not have the city have anything to do with that. So we reversed, and special event organizers now, under this, would be responsible for whether they want pets there or not, or dogs or whatever.
I think one of the reasons this kind of came up, as I remember, was, you know, sometimes like the humane shelter would come down to a first right or something, and that was theoretically against our ordinances because we said no animals, but yet it's for a good cause, and so obviously pushing that onto the actual event organizer, I think it's important to let them hold that decision-making and that liability and that, effectively that enforcing of that.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there a line in the paperwork where they will declare whether they are or aren't?
In which paperwork?
When they fill out an event, like
Yeah.
event page? Good question.
No, there isn't, but to me, I think that's their responsibility, because we don't want to go out there putting up signs, no animals. I think that's their responsibility, because we did that.
But it would be nice to have some formal way of knowing whether that's allowed or not.
Right. I
So,
mean, we could add it.
Gary's not here, but I guess the question, maybe this is more, I don't think it's theoretical, but practical.
Back when we were looking at it.
But I guess the question would be is, okay, so if an event organizer, if an event, let's say First Friday, just because it's easy. So let's say First Friday is there, and First Friday decides to allow dogs to be, to come to the event. And then it's a scenario where someone brings a lizard, right? Lizards aren't allowed, dogs are, lizards are not. Then what happens, right? Theoretically, the event organizer is the one that kicks that person out or says you're not allowed to be here or whatever, right? Is that generally?
Yeah, I think it's better. I think the thought is to sort of keep the city out of it, because we don't want responsibility, we don't want the liability, we want nothing. So it's all on them now to make those
So having it
decisions.
even on their form would be.
Yeah, I
best
think
involved.
that's sort of the thought process.
Okay.
It's on them.
It's on them to handle it.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we looked at that.
We looked at that a couple years ago.
We looked.
I think they really need to let the police department know, so that if they do have issues, that
Right.
there's no dogs, no animals, I should say, not dogs, but.
So just thinking through that practically, does that mean that, just trying to figure out how practically they would inform the police department, if you will, of that, if not through the permit?
I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are, but if people start calling the police and saying, hey, they've got dogs up here, well, How do we know? we're not
Well,
supposed
but
to?
again, I think the whole point of this modification is that that's on the event organizer to manage that, right? I mean, ultimately, it's the event organizer that says, hey, we're not allowing dogs down here, we're not allowing cats or whatever.
So it
You
wouldn't
need to
be
go.
on the police department to enforce.
No,
it.
that's my point.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my point is that at the end of the day, we're putting it on the event organizer to manage that thing, that it's not a police activity, let's say it that way.
Yeah, maybe they just need to make signs and put up at the entrance.
Yeah.
No animals allowed, if they've got them. Then it's off our hands to do.
The only thing that I can think that the committee did not discuss, and perhaps it would be nice to tweak this, would be to say that, however, any animals have to still comply with the city's regulations on restricted animals, endangered animals, et cetera. So we can't suddenly have alligators coming in leashes. I guess, maybe that would be a tweak that might be nice, so that we know it's just dogs and cats or whatever is
Gotcha.
acceptable.
So effectively, along that way, yeah, that it's to chapter 90, that it.
Right,
They have to abide by.
they still have
chapter
to
90
abide
still.
by those restrictions on
But you need to
restricting.
put that into the ordinance or into the paperwork?
It'd be easy for me to tweak this and add that in there.
For second reading.
Yeah.
Did we
It's up
have,
to you guys. It's not up to me, but it might be something you might like to put in. I don't know.
did we have a complaint about it or something?
I have no idea why it got brought up.
Well, I think a part of it is again, as I said, some of it was our ordinance previously said no animals at events. But when you had the humane shelter bringing animals that they're trying to get adopted, then it's kind of against that ordinance. Then the other side of that was, do we really want to get into the decision-making of, yes, dogs are allowed, but cats aren't, oh, now lizards are allowed, but dogs aren't, or do we really want to be in that business, or is it more, hey, the event organizer, if they're gonna have an animal show happening in downtown, do we want to get into the business of deciding who's gonna go where and all that kind of, I don't think we want to be in that business.
There's a lot of dogs up here.
Sure.
Last time I was on First Fridays, there was a lot of dogs.
Yep.
They walked around, whether it's service animal or
Sure.
just because it's part of the family, I don't know. There's quite a few animals up here.
My only question is, Marcia, if an organizer decides that they don't want dogs or animals, and they say, hey, you need to leave because it says no animals, is there an enforceable ordinance that our officer can even say, you have to go? Because there's no ordinance saying, does it make it an ordinance when the organizer declares that a pet free?
No, because it's up to them. If they want somebody out, then it's really up to them. It's not up to our officers.
Right. So if they refuse to leave, then,
That's what I was kind of
Yeah,
concerned
I
too.
mean, that's gonna be tough to enforce,
Yeah,
which, right now, we haven't had any issues with people with dogs. As long as they clean up after their dogs, usually that's the biggest issue.
I do think that there's been at least one instance that I know of where there was a couple of dogs that went at each other at an event, and I don't remember which one it was, but it was a downtown event, and they were separated. But again, I think it still comes back to, at the end of the day, do we want to be in the business of regulating what animals are going to be allowed or not being allowed at downtown events, and start to get into the adjudication of that piece? I think that's, at the end of the day, that's the question mark in front of you guys. So,
So as it's written right
Probably
now-
call on trespassing or, something along that line and bring it under something else.
if they're not, again, if someone comes up to Old Settlers and
Has a snake.
has a snake, or is doing other things that is not allowed by the Old Settlers Committee, right? And they can be theoretically kicked off the Midway, by the event organizers. But, again, I don't know. It's up to you guys what you guys want to do. Ultimately, I don't know that it's worthwhile for us to get into the decision-making of whether we allow dogs or cats or snakes or.
I agree wholeheartedly.
So-
So the way this is written, it's basically, people pay them, if the organizers wanna police it, knock themselves out.
Sitting on the committee, the discussion that we all had was trying to make it better for our police, who you guys don't want to be in the position of making that decision, yet we're throwing them into that position of making a decision. And it's trying to alleviate, so they're not in the middle of all that mess, because you got animals that people, what do they call them, animals, that service animals and all kinds of things that they run into, trying to get them out of the middle of that.
So, two questions. Number one is, would be a motion, but second would be, is based on what Marcia said about referring back to chapter 90 of our ordinance, which is the animal ordinance, that, you know, basically whether or not they allow it, any animals that are there have to comply by that ordinance. So, and if you're okay with that, that'll go into the second reading of this ordinance. So, do I have a motion to approve ordinance 2024-7 on first reading?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Tad, seconded by Leslie. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. Would you like Marcia to make the change for the second reading?
Yes.
There you go. Next up is ordinance 2024-8. Do I have a motion to read by title only?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jennifer, seconded by Dan. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. Please read ordinance 2024-8 by title only.
Ordinance 2024-8, an ordinance amending chapter 75, traffic schedules of title 7 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Columbia City, Indiana.
So this ordinance comes from really two annexations that have happened since then, obviously all voluntary. The first one is regarding West Lincoln Way from city limits to US 30, which is just, city limits is just past Farm Credit, Mid-America Services, whatever it is there, that is being built. That's where the city limit now is, up to US 30. That area is currently 55 miles an hour all the way on US 30, and as soon as you go 30 onto West Lincoln Way, it's 55 miles an hour. So, so that speeds that down to 40, which is, you know, again, you're getting into an urban zone. So, the second part of that is 200 South. That's obviously near the school property, and that's from State Road 9 to basically the edge of the school property on 200, which is where the city limits ends as well. So that's, again, moving that to 40 miles an hour versus the 55. Is it currently 55? I think it's currently 55. So.
And so from an ordinance committee member, we looked at what's the school speed limit around the school, and when school's in session or whether there's kids are being released, it's 40 mile an hour. That's why we were trying to align with 9, and then looking at if you would come across Lincoln Way into town, what is that speed limit as you come into town, and it was 40 there as well. So aligning that, you know, on that part of Lincoln Way.
So if the light's green and you're going 55, you can really get a good ramp. Over 30, you just gotta get down to 40 by the time you're done. Any questions, comments, concerns about this?
Hey, Mayor,
Yes, Kelly.
anything on 9 would have to go through the state for speed limit though, State Road 9.
Well, this is.
This is only on 200 though.
On 200?
Yes, 200 South, yeah, it's only on 200 South, but it's from State Road 9
Okay.
on
I thought
200
you
to
were
the,
talking about-
yeah, no, you're okay.
All right.
You're good.
Gotcha.
Have a motion to approve ordinance 2024-8 on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Leslie, seconded by Jennifer. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. We'll move that to second reading. Also in your Dropbox, just so you're aware, there is a food truck ordinance draft to consider, to think about. I know the ordinance review committee's been looking at this because of some feedback from restaurateurs in our community and trying to make sure, really twofold. Number one is that it's a more level playing field, but number two is that we can ensure that the food trucks coming into the community have the proper permitting from the health department and other things like that. So it's kind of a two-pronged thing. That is not on the agenda for tonight, so we won't be voting on it tonight. But I do want to encourage you between now and the next meeting to look it over. Ordinance committee members, do you guys have any comments on that?
Yeah, well, I got a couple.
Marcia?
I mean, there's already, they were already covered by health department and permits and all of that. A lot of this sprung from realizing that instead of having to refer back to the non-food truck ordinance all the time and everything else, the thought was, let's get all of it under the food truck ordinance. And then we also changed how the fees are done to make it simpler and a little bit more, and where they can be positioned. So interestingly, while it's a long ordinance, a lot of it is just, we're trying to, a lot of that is just brought in the non-food truck ordinance portion into this to bring it in. But they were always covered by health department and all of those types of things. So a lot of it was just trying to make this, yeah, it's longer, but simpler actually, because now it's all in one area.
Plus the food beverage.
Yeah, to make sure that that's being applied. Yep. Any other comments from the ordinance review committee members on that at this moment? Obviously, we'll bring it back up at the next meeting for potential action, but besides that, the department head reports. Chip?
Westgate's moving along. They posted on their Westgate community Facebook page that there'll be lane restrictions for like the next couple weeks, I believe. Surf is out there now relocating the fiber, which has kind of been a hold up. So things are going smooth, but it's very congested out there. Eagle Park they are installing the base for the sidewalks, so you can kind of get a visual of what's going on out there. The base for the pickleball courts have been put in, so things are happening. We are just waiting to get some electricity in for the lights, which we're having a delay on conduit right now. Test kitchen is moving along. We've got a lot of interest in it, so we're progressing forward on that. And I think that's all I've got off the top of my head, sorry.
Questions of Chip? Thank you. Terry?
Our public Wi-Fi is going to move over to the Surf Fiber link that we bought. So it's running for the last week or so, and it's running a lot faster than the old line was, and so it's working out well for us. The rollover line for our network is supposed to be installed this week, hopefully, so that'll be we're going to go from a 20 meg CenturyLink to a 1 gig fiber link. So, and that's used for if our main line goes down, our network rolls over to it. We have quotes in for the public Wi-Fi in Okie Alley and the Marshall Plaza, and hope to be able to move forward on those soon.
Questions of Terry? Thank you. Matt?
Happy to report that the staff did a fantastic job keeping everything going. Fiber is gone. So we started the pool on Memorial Day weekend. We had about 253 people on Saturday. Of course, Sunday was a rain out, and Monday the weather wasn't warm enough. But we also have the splash pad going now as well.
Questions? Thank you. Mike?
Out at Westgate, we had a stormwater line televised. We found that we do have some blockage in it, which is what drains
Everything?
Yes. And so hopefully this week or the beginning of next, we'll have that dug up and repaired. We've had several new services, and while we was doing one on East Ellsworth Street, we found 2 lead lines right there, so we replaced them at the same time. I know we've got several new houses in Brennan's addition, and also over on Hannah Street Extended that we have new houses that need hooked up, so we're still getting quite a few new homes in town.
Questions of Mike? Thank you. Mike?
Last week, all our overhead cranes that we used, they had their yearly inspections to get the reports back on those. We don't have one with a minor deficiency, so we will get that taken care of and repaired. Biomonitoring was also last week. Called into them. So far, everything turned out well. We're just waiting on the final report, so I think we passed that. The secondary they reported on, all the repairs, the parts that were ordered, my staff actually manufactured some parts themselves, welded those in place or bolted those in place, and that equipment's back up and running now. And company was in today to prep for the sludge return meter that I've been talking about. Probably gonna have that put in, they'll put that in tomorrow and have it calibrated on Thursday.
Question to Mike.
Any update on your bathroom? Is that done?
Bathroom, probably about 70%. I mean, they still have 2 toilets to put in. They're doing, partitions are all in and they're finishing up some tile work. And taking out the cracked tiles, some of the other tiles that had to patch some holes, which they couldn't find stuff that matched perfectly, but I mean, it's a bathroom, it'll be all right. But yeah.
No one's
that's,
videotaping any
definitely gonna be better than it
videos or
was.
anything in there, so. Thank you. Mike Show, do you have something else?
Yeah, they're supposed to start the filters the 1st of June.
Yeah, the filter media that's being replaced now. Thank you. Tom?
Pre-con for our new truck will be, Toby told me the actual dates and I didn't write them down. Mid next month, Toby, Mike, and Zach will be attending that pre-con meeting. Colin Harding, our new candidate, got through all of his testing and he starts next Monday, the 3rd. We're glad to welcome him into our city family. The roof of the firehouse was addressed last week. I believe it's done. I'm going to contact the gentleman that's in charge of that project with the company that we hired to do it and confirm, but I believe that's all done, and the guys think he told them that too. The crew that was working today was not the crew that was working last week when they were here, so I'll find out tomorrow. Chris is working with some local businesses in reference to some false alarms. There's 2 businesses in particular that we've been having a lot of alarms, and yes, there's an ordinance that we can fine them for that. We really try not to, and we never have done that to a business because we want to know when their alarms are going off. So we're working with them to get that addressed. iRoll, which is the software and we passed an ordinance that requires the software to be put in place so that places that do inspections on sprinkler systems, smoke detectors, things like that, if there's any deficiencies, it automatically comes to us so we can see those deficiencies. That is going very well. There were a few hiccups to begin with. We pretty much got those ironed out, and I commend the Council and Board of Works for making sure that things like that are taken care of for us.
Questions of Tom? Thank you. Sean?
So our project out on Morse's Road where we completely buried all overhead lines going from State Route 109 to the end of Morse's Road is now complete. Yards have been fixed. It's really going to help with outages and outage time. You know, I do a reliability study every year, and that's one of the areas that kind of shows up on a yearly basis. So now falling limbs and squirrels can no longer affect our reliability out there, which is great for the city altogether, because that can trip our main breakers out. Anyway, so the tree board, we've been working on stump grinding for a while. We had a major failure in our stump grinding equipment. And so we figured out that the part that was going to be replaced was quite expensive, and it was 15 years old, so we decided to trade that in, working with the tree board to purchase a new stump grinder. So we're gonna try again. Hopefully next week we get that in and we're able to start working on those again. We've called Wilkinson twice now. We had issues with the equipment, so hopefully we can get that project completed this time. Eagle Park, as Chip said, we're still waiting for some materials on that to get started. A couple years ago, I guess maybe 3, I did inform the mayor that IDEM hired a bunch of new inspectors for their underground storage tank inspections, with the idea that they're going to start coming down hard on these underground storage tanks and try to make it so we all have to get rid of all of them. We have one at the maintenance facility. 13 years, we've had no violations. Magically 2 years after they made this announcement, this year we have a violation that needs addressed. Gasoline Equipment is one that handles all our compliancy things. They're looking into it. They think it's just a paperwork issue that they're trying to catch us on. But anyway, long story short is we need to start looking at alternatives to having those underground storage tanks. So I'll be getting back with you guys when we get a good plan together. But We have sent letters to IDEM explaining that it was just a paperwork. It wasn't even a mistake, it was just a timing thing for them. But working through that, usually they will work with us when they know we're trying to fix something. So that hopefully takes care of itself. A couple of months ago, board approved pole testing by the company by the name of Osmos. They're going to be in town in either mid-June or July doing pole testing on all of our infrastructure south of US 30. So you'll see Osmos trucks drive around, probably in your backyard, drilling holes in the poles, testing them for us and getting us a report. So look forward to getting that project kicked off as well. And I did receive a letter of resignation from David Osborne. He's a second-year lineman. Dave is the gentleman that was in the National Guard and things like that. And bodybuilder, a big workout guy, and he got the opportunity to go to the Fort Wayne City Fire Department, completely changing his career path, but he's excited about it. And so, and you know what they pay over there to work 2 days a week and to sleep. I mean, trying to compete with that. So we did get permission to replace both him and Eli Stangley, who left about a month and a half ago. So we're short 2 linemen right now. So we're going to start working on getting some applications in and get somebody to replace them.
Questions of Sean? Thank you. Marcia?
Nothing?
Rosie?
No.
A couple of things for your information from Gary. We have Board of Works interviews scheduled for 2 applicants. He still has 1 open position, so Board of Works gave him approval to start another hiring process. He is also losing a dispatcher, and so we gave him permission to move forward with hiring a dispatcher as well. Generally speaking, things are moving pretty smoothly. He said that Matt, Manier, and Cody and Gary had worked on some kind of getting GIS and Spillman all worked out. And so they're going to be doing that regularly rather than kind of playing catch up all the time, so it's good. Sergeant Wooldridge attended an FBI negotiator class, so we have that skill set now in-house versus having to call in Fort Wayne or somebody else to work on that. And obviously they're gearing up for all of the downtown events that's happening upcoming. So I know Kelly had reported that the sidewalk along Chauncey Street there that they dug up for the stormwater work, that had been dug up for stormwater work, they've replaced that now and they finished that. They are, where's one other thing he said? Am I forgetting what else he said?
We replaced the sidewalk in front of Move Over.
Oh yeah, we replaced the sidewalk in front of Move Over, that there was a kind of a tree-ish well there that was just not in great shape, so what did you say?
I thought there was a 50/50 one.
Yes, that's it, that was it. There was a 50/50 sidewalk. We approved, Board of Works had approved a house on the corner of Weston and Line Street, South Line, that is on the corner lot there, and so they're doing a 50/50 on both sides. They're gonna do the Weston side first and then the Line Street side next after school's out, so, but that's a fairly good size sidewalk, but it's 50/50, so, it's a good deal for kind of both parties, so. A couple of miscellaneous things for you to know. Again, Chip and I were at the trade show out in Vegas and had some fantastic conversations with some different retailers, and so we're really excited about kind of some of the things that potentially have brought back from that. I had youth council on Wednesday it was our last meeting. We actually have 5 seniors that are leaving. We had 4, and then we had a 5th one who was a junior who graduating early. So basically replacing half of our youth council this year, which is a little scary in some ways. But lots of budget meetings, midterm evaluations that are happening right now. Memorial Day parade went well yesterday, even though it was a little spitty rain, but it was well attended as always. What else do I need to tell you? Utility Rate Advisory Board is meeting on Monday night, and for their annual meeting as well. And I think that's probably all I have, unless I think of something else. Dan?
Nothing, sir.
Jennifer.
I have a couple of things.
Okay.
First of all, from the Arts Commission, the Taste of the Arts, which is a partnership project with the city. Artists will be setting up outside of City Hall on Saturday, June 8th from 9 to 11 a.m. And there will be opportunities for people to come and try out their own art also. Like the artists will be doing
Okay.
things and
Like interactive stuff.
yeah, and an opportunity to ask questions and that kind of thing. Then local artists are invited, and actually the community in general, to come out to Art in the Park, which is a plein air event on Sunday, July 21st from 2 to 4 p.m. Back by the pond in Morses Park. And artists will be setting up outside, I suppose, weather permitting. And just everyone who wants to participate is encouraged to bring their own supplies and materials, and need a table, bring your own table, set up. Art will be done for a
Kind of a
while.
pop-up event.
Yeah.
And what time is that again?
2 to 4 p.m. on Sunday, July 21st. And then the next thing is the tree board met last week, and on Friday, so backing up just a little bit, our Tree City USA status is 30 years this year. And part of our requirement in that is planting a tree for Arbor Day. And so on Friday, a little off schedule, the committee planted a tree at Faith Christian Academy on the hill there, and students got to participate in that.
Great.
Brent Bockelman led the program. Kids got to ask questions and actually participate in digging the hole, and they were like picking grubs out and asking questions
What
about
is
those.
this?
Yeah.
Can I eat it?
It was
Oh,
great.
okay.
It was very informative, and it'll be pretty neat for the kids to be able to look at that tree for years to come and say, hey, I planted
I
that.
planted. Very cool, very cool. Anything else?
That's all.
Thank you. Tad?
Nothing?
Jenny?
Nothing.
Leslie?
Nothing.
We have no press, anything from the audience? Okay.
Of course we have something. I don't know if it has to do with any of this.
Now with the council?
Yeah.
Okay, then we will call the meeting adjourned. Thank you. See you, come up here in a moment.